Hello, just a, short discussion tonight. You've seen from the liberals, of course, issues on racism. They're taking a bad strategy here. You don't want to be pointing fingers at anybody, regardless of the subject matter or if it's political or non-political. The reason for that is you are opening yourself up to the same discussion. So basically, on the racism issues, at the end of the day, my belief here is they're trying to do wealth transfers, and you can't do that. That's where we're going to start it in tonight. You can't do wealth transfers. If it was true that the Republicans could block an African American from moving up in society, it's also true that a liberal could do the same thing and move an African American up. So if the Republicans could block them, the Democrats could go around them. So basically, you have a wash. That's a argument from the liberals that even if it were true, it wouldn't explain the penny of a wealth gap between a white and an African American. I myself have no problem with Asians doing better than whites. My belief is you let the results play out. I don't support Hitler in any way, what he did. You also don't want to. I mean, it's a complicated thing to respond to because the Democrats have been all over the place because their strategy doesn't make sense. Another issue is there to get in somebody's face, and you don't want to do that. You're going to run into the wrong person. You're not going to get anywhere with that. Hitler again comes up. Unfortunately, so that's kind of what you expect out of a politician. Basically, all these so-called companies that are discriminating, half of their shareholders are liberals. They market cap Facebook, you saw, just hit 1 trillion. That's we don't even know where Zuckerberg stands, which is a good thing. I don't think he should show his political cards, but with a company that size, half their shareholders are each party. So you can't just point fingers like that. I saw a comment the other day on Facebook, someone saying a Southern racist. Well, why would that matter what part of the country you're from if you're a racist? It has no bearing whatsoever. If, racism's wrong no matter where you're from. A lot of people don't like people from the South just because they're conservative. Well, people aren't going to agree with you, and they have a right to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. You have people don't see everything the same way, and that's the way it should be. So basically, you have the Democrats are wrong on this issue. It's a very simple issue. On the housing issue with African Americans, you come up with a numbered system, like the Swiss do with bank accounts. Instead of Denzel Washington on a home loan, you have a number. That would end it right there. But instead, they spend their time pointing fingers, coming up with stuff that doesn't help African Americans at all. The dollar bill with Harriet Tubman, or taking down some statue. That's not going to help anyone. So, it's basic stuff. Work and invest. Basically, if you feel you're getting underpaid, I wouldn't work. I've left jobs because I wasn't getting paid right. So, pointing fingers is just not a good strategy. We can do that with Democrats on abortion, but like I said, it's not a good strategy. So, basically, you can't do wealth transfers. So, even if I'm sure there are people who discriminate out there, but that doesn't explain the wealth gap between whites and African Americans. But getting back to the beginning argument, so we saw an article, basically STEM, you hear systemically racist. I can't speak on all subject matters, but math is it's something you're born with, a talent you're born with, not something you learn. and the African Americans score lower on that subject matter, basically, that's not something that you want to get into an argument with as a Democrat, because you're not going to win that one. Now, they could come back with and say, African Americans do better at this or that. And I think that would be true, but you're basically going to end up in a tie in a debate. And so you spend all that time just to pull even with somebody. And that's not a good strategy. So like I said, you want to get people working, investing. The government's not going to make people whole. They're not going to bring up African Americans or reparations or any other program the government does. It's up to people to work and invest. Even if you do account for lower wages for African Americans, it doesn't explain the wealth gap. And that's on them. That's on anybody to manage their money. Even if I was Bill Gates, I wouldn't buy a Peloton. I wouldn't buy an iPad. I wouldn't buy a Porsche or a Tesla. There's no strategy where I buy a Tesla. I'm not going to buy that stuff because I don't want to, but you just got to manage your money no matter what. So, anybody, African American or whatever, if you don't feel you're getting paid right, then don't work. Everybody needs the money, so that's not an excuse. But they basically, the argument on the other side is saying, African Americans make less money. Well, there's hundreds of factors that go into somebody's salary: job position, education, experience. And they say even after you strip out those factors, there's still difference. Well, we need to see those numbers. Is it $500 a year? In some cities, that's not going to get you anywhere. So, it should be nothing, but we need to see those numbers. So, there's the factors that go into somebody's, it's probably an education issue or a day late. Liberals like to, instead of, you see this on the gender side as well, a company will be started up by a male, and then they'll start criticizing them for not hiring females at the top or something like that. Well, nobody stopped. If a woman came up with the idea to start Facebook back in 2000 before Zuckerberg, nobody would have stopped her. Nobody. And if they tried to, they wouldn't. So, start up your own business. That'd be good for African Americans too. Start up your own business. Stop comparing with people. I don't do that. I haven't done that once with Asians or anything like that. So, at the end of the day, just I wouldn't pay any attention to the liberals on that stuff. They're just making up nonsense. Even if they were in charge of every law, they wouldn't change anything. They're just devaluing stuff. So I blame the Republicans too for not responding to that. They gave them an F too for not responding to this stuff. So, but to finish up, STEM, at least math is, I'm 100% certain on this. It's not my opinion. It's a fact. Blaise Pascal, all the great mathematicians, Newton, they will just start laughing at you. That's basically like saying, if I were to go out and play against LeBron James in a pickup game of basketball, that I would be better than him. I mean, you can say, you can make up a reason for African Americans performing poorly on math, but I've never played LeBron James in a basketball game, so it's the same thing. But basically, I would. You're not doing any good as a politician or anybody as a liberal to you're not doing you're not helping anything by getting in somebody's face. Nobody's going to stop you from doing that, but you're not helping yourself. You're not helping anybody, number one. And you're not, by making accusations on this stuff, like every white person, just because you're white, you're racist. That's not helping anything. You just look like an idiot when you do that. I have African American friends, and if they were like that, I would get rid of them. I wouldn't hang out with them. I wouldn't do anything dangerous, but I wouldn't hang out with them. So, just finishing up, math is a talent that you're born with. I did not. I basically slept through. I have a minor in math. I slept through that class in college. I have a 4.0 on my math minor. Grade point scores in those classes were upper 90s. I wasn't just skating by with 90, 91s. And when I went to study for the exams a night or two before, I already knew that stuff in my head.